Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we've got a beer that I'm really quite excited to try actually. We're going to go to Vienna in Austria today, and it's not often that I get to review an Austrian beer for you, and we have a beer that should be really pretty damn good actually. So we're going to do my first review from Brew Age, and this one is the Alpha tier. So this is a New England IPA at 5.6%, and Rate Beer gave this one a rating I think of 93 overall. Now as I always say, don't take Rate Beer as the kind of gospel word when it comes to your craft beer, but it does give you a fairly decent barometer of how good it's going to be. And I also want to give a special shout out and thank you on this video to my friend Wolfgang over at Katzenfeld, a very nice guy from Graz in Austria who does his own beer channel, and he also does some food videos as well. All the videos are in German right enough. I've been trying to encourage him to do some beer reviews of Austrian beers in English to teach the rest of the world about that, but he doesn't seem keen so far. But basically he helped me out with the information for this video because I was really struggling to find anything on Brew Age. So a huge thank you to Wolfgang for helping me out with this video, and please do make sure you check out his channel, particularly if you are a German speaker of course. He's got some really nice videos over there with cooking meat and things like that, and also some really good beer reviews as well. So do make sure you give Wolfgang your patronage, and I really hope that I can convince him to do some English speaking videos in the future, because he's a very nice guy and it would be cool to learn more about Austrian beer. But anyway, as is usual with my reviews then, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery. If you want to get straight to the tasting of course, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Brew Age. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, like I said. There's all the usual social media. If you want to see more beer reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, prefecture, county, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlist of beers from different countries. I will make one for all the Austrian beers that I'm going to review, and hopefully I can add more in the future. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you give the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Brew Age then. So as I mentioned to you, Brew Age are based in Vienna in Austria, which is over in the southeastern part of the country, and they were founded back in 2014. So the brewery's run by 4 guys. This is Thomas Mauer, Johannes Kugler, Raphael Schurer, and also Michael Mauer. So Thomas and Johannes actually had started homebrewing back in 2006, and a few years later they went to study at the Weihenstephan Institute, which obviously is part of the Technical University of Munich, a very kind of prestigious German university actually. But later they were joined by Michael and Raphael. Raphael of course was a business student, so he deals with a lot of the business kind of dealings of the brewery. But by 2012 they had their plans for a brewery finalised, and then they just had to decide between having their own brewery and gypsy brewing. So they decided to go with the latter, mainly because of they wanted to avoid the huge startup costs with actually investing in all of this infrastructure, and it seems to be going pretty well for them. But they brew most of their beers at Brauhaus Gusswerk, which I believe is also in the Vienna area, but they do have their own ambitions to create their own brewery at some point in the future in Vienna. So hopefully that goes well with them. But from what Wolfgang tells me, these guys produce some pretty good beers, and as I said in the case of Germany, it is really cool to see a kind of traditional kind of beer country like Austria to be embracing these kind of American beer styles. So obviously Austria will have huge expertise in brewing as well as Germany does, but it is really cool to see that people are trying out brewing these American styles. So I'm hopeful that this is going to be a really good beer. And I said Wolfgang had some very good things to say about Brew Age as well, and I'm hoping that I can get out to Austria next year and have a look at Slovenia as well, and meet up with Wolfgang and try some more of these Austrian beers. So hopefully you can see a few more Austrian reviews on the channel at some point in the near future. It really is wonderful to go around Europe and just see all these different places. But yeah, so let's get on to the actual tasting of this beer itself. Now, as I always say, the links are in the description below if you want to read more about these guys. But yeah, it says on the hops in this one, as I said, comes in at 5.6%. The hops in this one is Amarillo, Centennial, Citra, and Mosaic. So we should get some nice orangey notes out of this, some lemon, I guess, and some grapefruit too, just going by the hops. And the malt base is Pilsner Vienna malts. I love Vienna malts, and also some Munich malts as well. So really looking forward to this. Since it's a New England IPA as well, I guess that it will have some oats added to it as well. But there you can see, there's the nice Brew Age bottle cap, and I do like the artwork on this one. I can't remember if that's a lemur or not. I'm trying to remember if that is a lemur. I'm not so good with my zoology. I used to be a lot better with it, recognising animals and things, but I have to admit, I do actually like the artwork that they've done on this. And some of the other artwork that you see on their website is pretty cool as well. So like I said, a 5.6% ABV New England IPA from Vienna in Austria. This will be really cool. So as you can see, a nice smoky opening on this one, and we'll get it out into the glass, and you can smell those lovely fruity notes coming off this as well, this already. Just looking at this one pour actually, it doesn't actually seem, just when it's coming out, as hazy as some of the other ones I've seen, and I'm interested to see if they've put oats in that, because I know in Germany, with the Reinheitsgebot and the laws that are there, I don't think you're actually allowed to sell it as beer if it has anything other than the 4 ingredients, of course. But this looks absolutely lovely. Just look at that. It's one of these kind of big fruit juicy IPAs. So I think it's fair to describe this one as being a nice kind of light yellow orangey colour. There's a solid, I'd say just under a finger's worth of a frothy white head on this one. It really is quite opaque. Some big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass and quite a few little ones just going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall it does look very, very nice, and you can smell some of these lovely oranges and tangerines just coming out the top of the glass there. But a lovely looking beer, and you know, it's exactly what you would expect of one of these New England IPAs. So let's take a closer look at the aroma then and see how we get on. Yeah. Straight away with this one, you can smell, for me it's the oranges from the Amarillo that's coming out. And you can smell a little bit of that lighter kind of tangerine that you'll expect from the Mosaic as well. And of course, you can definitely pick up the nice mango, and that's the Citra. That's definitely the Citra. But as you go further and further into the aroma, you do start to get a little bit more of these kind of complexities. The Mosaic and the Citra will both give you a little bit of kind of tropical fruit complexity, if that makes sense. So you can get, I think there's a wee bit of a slightly lychee and gooseberry note coming out of this one. And there's a wee bit of an almost kind of, I want to say a little bit of a peachy note as well. That'll be the Citra and the Mosaic giving you these, like I said. But you can smell those nice, slightly more oily oranges coming out from the Amarillo. And the Centennial, the Centennial usually gives you this kind of spicy floral aromaticity, and you can pick that up in this one. All of these hops in this one do have a bit of floral aromaticity in their own right, but the Centennial's the one, it gives you this kind of quite distinctive lemony character. I'm not picking up too much in the way of the lemon right enough. I think the other fruits are kind of covering that up. There's a wee bit of a grapefruity kind of passion fruit note as well, but mainly for me, this is orange and mangoes that are coming out of this one. But some nice floral aromaticity. You can pick up a little bit of a lighter grassy note as well, and of course underneath you can smell some of these white kind of bready notes. There's a wee bit of a caramelly sweetness to this one as well, or a biscuity sweetness, and I do suspect that's the Vienna malt. I always remember Vienna malts, and mainly because of Vienna lagers and things, they have this nice, slightly more brown breadish and biscuity quality to them. I do love Vienna malts, and it is actually cool. I've always wanted to experiment a little bit with that with home brewing, to put some Vienna malts in a West Coast IPA and see how it comes across. It'll be interesting to see how it goes across, or it comes across. In the New England IPA, the Munich malts, of course, give you a lovely kind of white breadiness. But this one smells really, really nice. I just spilt a wee bit there, but it's all good. But yeah, as I always say, just take a little bit of time and enjoy the aroma of your beer before you actually get stuck into it. But I've got a feeling this is going to be a pretty damn good beer. So let's give this one a go then. So this one is the Alpha Tier from Brew Age, a gypsy brewery based in Vienna in Austria. Once again, a huge thank you to Wolfgang for making this review possible. Let's get stuck into this beer. Prost. Yeah. All you can say right now is that, you know, if you get the chance to try some of these Brew Age beers, go for it. This is a really damn good New England IPA. In terms of this particular style, this one to me leans a little bit more towards the smooth and juicy side of things. You can get some of them that are a little bit more kind of slightly bitter. This one's very, very smooth. I think out of all the ones that I can think of, this is the smoothest one that I've come across so far. And you know, it's one thing I always like picking up on with these beer videos. When you start to review a lot of different beers from different countries, you do start to notice trends. Like, you notice that the Germans love their beers very smooth, the Slovenians love really kind of juicy, almost New Zealand hop style kind of IPAs. And I do wonder, the smoothness that's coming out of this one, I do wonder if the Austrians like their beer to be very smooth like that. And that probably is a straight product of these the Munich malts and the Vienna malts that they've put in this beer. But this is really, really good. Yeah, if you get the chance to try this beer, have a go at it. It's a very, very good quality IPA. As I always say with these beers, just sugar it around your palate a little bit and let your whole mouth adjust before you start analysing the flavour too much. But you are going to realise early on, this is a pretty damn good beer. And I guess when the two guys have trained at Weihenstephan, you wouldn't expect anything less from them. So yeah, this is really nice. So in the middle of your palate, as you'd expect, there's you can feel a little bit of that kind of light, almost pale ale. That would be the Pilsner malt coming out of this one. You can just feel that little light blanket across the middle of your palate. But on top of that, you start to get the smoother notes. I do think there's a little bit of oaty character to this one. You can just feel that slightly oaty sweetness in the middle of your palate, but just as you move out towards the edges, you can pick up that kind of white bready note, which will be the Munich malt, and there's a little bit of that almost kind of brown bready sweetness, and I do think that's the Vienna malt coming out. There's a wee bit of biscuity character just right down the middle of the palate too, which is quite interesting. And again, I think that's the Vienna malt. I do need to try a few more Austrian beers. I'm not that well versed in Austrian beer, but I remember loving the Vienna lagers and the Vienna malts just because of that nice kind of slightly sweet biscuity malt base that they had. But yeah, that's a really good IPA. Try this one if you get the chance. I'm not sure how widely distributed across Europe this one is, but hopefully in the future we can get a couple more Brew Age beers over here in Scotland or in Sweden or even in Denmark as well. I'm quite close to Denmark. But that is pretty damn good. So yeah, on the hoppy side of the things with this beer, in the back corner of the palate there's a teeny little bit of earthiness, but mainly it's the big floral aromaticity. There's a good bit of floral aromaticity just coming out along the front kind of sides of the palate there. You can just feel a little bit of that spicy character, which will be the Centennial pushing its way out, and as you go round the front corners, the front curve of the tongue, sorry, there's a little bit more of that almost lemongrassy note in there, and that's really nice. But of course the big complexity with this beer comes out with the fruity juiciness. But yeah, that's good. The Citra for me actually is quite prominent in this one as you move into the aftertaste. But yeah, just behind the front curve of the palate, that's where you're going to get this little oily bubble where the nice kind of juicy fruits come out of the beer. And for me, you can feel a little bit of that, there's a little bit of passion fruit and grapefruit just underpinning this one. That'll be from the Citra, and then as you move further into the flavour, it's the mangoes that are starting to come out. And as I was mentioning earlier with the Mosaic and the Citra, you start to get these kind of tropical fruit complexities. So as you progress further and further into the aftertaste, there's a little bit of that kind of gooseberry and lychee note. And I'm also getting a wee bit of an almost peachy, apricotty character from this beer as well. But you can feel initially there's a good bit of orange in this one. That'll be the Amarillo. You can feel, like, you've seen how long it was since I took a sip. I'm actually starting to get some of these nice kind of orangey characters. I think the Amarillo is actually, it's coming out a little bit more than the Mosaic is. The Mosaic gives you this kind of lighter, it's almost just slightly juicier tangerine note, whereas the Amarillo I've always found gives you that big oily orange, and I think it's the more oily oranges that are just kind of pushing the tangerines out the way a little bit. But this is a really nice beer. Yeah, I do like how this all goes together. It's just very smooth. It's got a bit more of a wet mouth feel, I would say, than some of the other ones that I've come across. It's not quite as full as some of the other ones, but in terms of the flavour, it certainly is really quite good. And I think that might be another thing when it comes to Austria and Germany. They do like their beers to be sessionable, so the mouthfeel, in some cases I've found, it can be very smooth, but at the same time it's a light smoothness that you get from them. But overall, this is a really kind of top quality beer. I certainly wouldn't hesitate to drink this again, and I would love to try it on tap and just see if it has a slightly thicker mouthfeel to it. But it's really nice, and particularly when I like the orange flavours that you get from the Mosaic and the Amarillo, those are probably two of my favourite hops. This one kind of just suits me down to the ground. As I always say though, beer is subjective, so different people like different things, but the Amarillo and the Mosaic are two of my favourite hops, so this one is kind of right up my street. In terms of the mouthfeel of this beer then, I would say, I think it's probably mid-bodied. but it is on the lighter side of mid-bodied. I would say it's probably a little bit lighter than some of the New England IPAs I've come across before. The carbonation, of course, as you'd expect with this style, is very, very smooth. The mouthfeel, it is, again, generally it's quite smooth. There's a little bit of oily character to it. I find this one a little bit wetter than some of the other New England IPAs that I've come across, and some of them do tend to have a little bit of a thicker, almost kind of chalky texture to them. This one to me just feels a little bit wetter, and again, I do wonder if that's just the kind of Austrian-German thing where they like their beers to be a little bit more sessionable but also smooth. It definitely has the smoothness to it, but it is just a little bit more light and kind of drinkable. The IBUs on this one, it does have a good little bit of IBU character to it. It's not going to blow your head in terms of IBUs, I think, for me, but I've drunk like stupid beers with really high IBUs. But this one to me is just nice, but maybe my palate is getting a little bit numb, because I had a beer the other day and it was saying, oh, this is 120 IBUs. I never would have guessed that, but the IBUs for me are just right for this one. It does have a good little bit of that hoppy bitterness, that nice spicy floral aromatic character from the Centennial comes out quite nicely. And it's got a nice smoothness to the malt base. There's a little bit of sweetness there, which I do suspect is from the Vienna malt, and it's got that typical nice juicy fruity character that you expect from the beer. But overall, like I said, it is really cool to find a New England IPA from Austria that is such high quality, because you normally wouldn't associate this style with Austria at all. It's always the Vienna lagers and things like that that you'd expect, but they've done a very, very good job with this one, and I do hope I can try some more of these Brew Age beers in the future. I'd love to try their Scotch ale and see how that one comes across, so hopefully I can get a hold of that in the future. But this was the Alpha Tier from Brew Age in Vienna in Austria. Once again, a big thank you to Wolfgang for making this review possible for me. And I do hope that I can return to these guys in the future. So thank you to you guys for watching once again. As always, let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comment section below if you've tried it before. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Brew Age as well, and hopefully I can get a hold of some of those. But until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Do check out my social media, and please do make sure you check out Wolfgang's channel as well. That's Cats and Fet, and I'll put the link in the description for you below. But until the next time, it's Slanger just now, and I will catch you guys very soon. The Alpha Tier from Brew Age, a gypsy brewery in Vienna in Austria. Prost.